Yo, what's up, guys? Jonic Games. Look, I know I look so black, but you know, if I look black like this, you know what it means. It's scary, scary story time. And if you guys are wondering, I actually came prepared this time. I brought chips and juice. So, let's look at some scary stories. Oh, I need to actually pull up the scary stories. So, we are gonna look at the playhouse. Wait. Why is there a mom in there? Is that a mom? I don't know. But it's called The Playhouse. All the videos are gonna be by Lum Arts, by the way.
We live on several acres in rural Indiana, USA. Our neighbors aren't too far apart, but we all live on a lot of property. On our properties, we have a lot of trees, and our neighbor doesn't maintain their property well, so a lot of it's overgrown. You know, a couple of fallen trees and a lot of downed branches. We knew the state of their property was probably because it was an older couple that owned the house and the property was vast. We have a creek separating our homes as well, but a small strip of their property is accessible from our backyard. Due to the overgrowth in trees, we weren't able to see much of their property when we first moved in the summer, and of course we didn't go onto their land because we didn't want to trespass. One night, my daughter and her friend were camping in the backyard and ran inside, swearing that they heard a kid laughing or crying in our backyard.
Whoa.
I figured it was their imagination from too many scary stories while in the tent, but went out to investigate briefly just in case.
Always investigating, man. Stop! Investigating! Please! What is it, bro?
I heard a faint noise coming from just beyond our property line. I moved the flashlight into the general direction and called out to whoever may be in the trees.
Okay, first of all, why would you go alone? It's like, why would you go out alone? What are you doing? Like, yo, what? Don't go out alone. That's rule number one.
I decided it was probably just a couple of stray cats, but just in case,
Hey,
I
you
had
turn
the
off
girls
your
set up the
oh
tent
my.
in the living room. The next day, after taking my daughter's friend home, curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate the area by our property line. As I neared the line of trees, I saw a small path I had never noticed before. Since I knew my neighbors were too far and the trees were too thick, they couldn't see me on their property, so I stepped onto the small path. I walked slowly, looking down, watching for poison ivy and fallen branches. I wasn't too far in when I saw a dirty, broken kid's toy on the ground, wrapped in overgrown weeds. I looked up, and in the distance I saw a small, white shed-like structure. As I got closer, there were more and more toys scattered on the ground, some partially buried, all broken and dirty. Then there was barbed wire, and I could see the front of the shed and realized it was a large playhouse with a wooden alphabet decorating the outside. I was starting to feel uneasy. This playhouse was at least half a mile or more from the only house on the property. I stopped in my tracks, letting my imagination go a little, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I must have jumped a foot off the ground, only to turn around and see that my daughter had followed me.
Oh.
Once my heart slowed down, I decided to get a closer look. There was more broken barbed wire fencing on the ground the closer we got. The window on the side was broken, and there was a hole in the roof. There was a broken train set, one the kid would be able to ride on.
I wonder who lives there, bro.
The front door had a white piece of wood
Whoever's lived there
set
must be,
to
like,
lock
super
someone
poor.
in, not keep people out. At this point, my daughter was in full panic mode and begging for us to walk back to our house. But I had to at least look through the window, or my mind would wander with all the possibilities of what could be in there. As I was stepping to the side of the shed, my daughter was following close behind. In her fear, she was paying more attention to me than where she was stepping, and she cut her leg pretty deep on some barbed wire that was hidden in overgrowth.
Oh.
I quickly glanced inside the window, only to see a partially dirt floor and broken wood, and a large wooden bench with a dark stain on top. I picked up my daughter, who was determined her leg was going to fall off. We left the neighbor's property, and I took her to the doctor to get a tetanus shot and get her
Hey,
cleaned
how
up.
big is that cut?
We left the neighbor's
Go back. Hold on. Oh, that's pretty deep.
daughter, who was determined her leg was going to fall off. We left the neighbor's property, and I took her to the doctor to get a tetanus shot and get her cleaned up. That night after dinner, I let the dog out, but couldn't get her to come back in. I let her stay outside for a while and checked again a little later.
That
Our
who?
dog still wouldn't come in. I'd for a while let the dog out, tetanus shot, and get her cleaned up. That night after dinner, I let the dog out, but couldn't get her to come back in. I let her stay outside for a while and checked again a little later. Our dog still wouldn't come in, and I noticed she was standing by the path we took earlier. I grabbed a flashlight and her leash and headed out to her. She was pacing, whining, and sniffing around everywhere. I figured it was from the blood earlier, but she never ventured onto the path. Then, I heard the giggling of a little girl. I called out to the child, but there was no answer in return. Just some rustling in the leaves. I ran inside with the dog.
Thank you. You're so smart. You're so smart.
Leaves.
Yes.
I ran
Yes.
inside with the dog to check on my
There you
daughter
go.
to make sure that she was still in the house. She was laying in bed, fast asleep. The next morning, I went straight to the playhouse. But as I was approaching, something was wrong. The broken toys seemed to be in different places. And when I got to the playhouse, my heart felt like it was a ton of bricks. All over the side of the playhouse were children's drawings in my daughter's blood.
Whoa. I hope they got out of there though. I hope they didn't just. I really hope they didn't just stay there. Honestly. All right. The next one I'm gonna look at is fishing horror stories. The Texas Red! Ah!
There used to be a pond about half a mile away from my old house that I would commonly go fishing in. It was nicknamed Daryl's Pond. I still have no idea who Daryl was or why it was called that.
Probably
but
owns
nobody
it.
owned it, so people would once in a blue moon go fishing there as well. It was usually me by myself, though. I had dug a pole into the ground where I would tie a noose to and from my small kayak.
That's not gonna work.
I'd say it was about
Wait,
3 in
how
the
is that even
afternoon when I rowed
holding?
out to the middle of the pond.
Wait, go
The
back.
sweet spot.
How is that holding an entire raft? That makes no sense. That small, bro. That looks like a golf pin. Like what? I don't know.
I'd say it was about 3 in the afternoon when I rowed out to the middle of the pond, the sweet spot for getting a decent catch. There was another person coming out from the trees.
Oh,
I
whoa,
waved at him and gave him a
pause,
smile.
whoa, pause.
He hopped into a small boat floating by the edge of the pond and began to row over to me. As he got close enough where trying to speak to him wouldn't come off as obnoxious, I gave him a friendly, "Perfect day, isn't it?" "Yes, absolutely," he said. He didn't say anything after that, and I started to feel a bit awkward, as if I were obligated to keep some kind of conversation rolling now.
Lord.
"So, you come out here to throw some lines?" I asked. "No, I don't actually fish."
Why are you out here?
"Oh, well, it's never a bad day to relax on the pond," I said.
What?
He continued to row closer to me until
Yo!
his boat
Back
collided
up,
with
bro.
mine.
Back up, bro. You see, I know you guys didn't see that, because, you guys didn't see that, bro. My punches were so fast. They were so fast, you couldn't even see it, bro. Nah, bro, that's SMB's gone.
Creating a big
Take your
thud.
stuff, gone.
I was genuinely uncomfortable now.
Yo.
I didn't feel threatened, just weirded out. I was only 24 years old. This guy looked like he was late 40s or 50s.
Oh.
There was an awkward silence. I tried to just act like I was focused on trying to make a catch, but by now that wasn't even on my mind. This guy was weird. I didn't know what he wanted, and I was uncomfortable being so close to him.
Just ask what he
I
wants,
felt
bro.
him looking at me, or at least in my direction, as I faced halfway to the opposite direction of him. I took a quick glance to my right. Yeah, he was staring at me.
Yo.
I decided to be ballsy and lock eye contact with him.
Lord.
After about 4 seconds, he looked away. So, where are you from? I asked him. Up there. He pointed behind himself, in the direction of the woodsy hill leading past the dirt road. Oh, you live by Suffolk? I asked. No, I'm not, he said. What made you decide to come out here? I said. Why not? I continued to try and
Wait, why
uncomfortably
not?
fill the awkward silences that kept coming up. His responses were dry. He didn't contribute anything to what was barely a conversation.
Yeah, and the fact that he bumped you over. He didn't even apologize. This man is rude. He's so rude. He's so rude. How do you bump over somebody and not even apologize? So rude.
Just sat there not doing anything with half a smile on his face, looking either at me or in my general direction throughout. I was creeped out. My heart was racing at this point. I'd go as far as saying that I was nervous for my life. We were surrounded by trees in all directions in the middle of the pond.
Yeah, you can't.
I started to row a bit closer to land, but in a very low-key kind of way, trying to play it off as me just trying to find a better spot to find some fish.
Oh, okay.
I was horrified when I saw he was following me.
Yo.
What a great day, huh? I felt a shake in my voice. I got close enough to the edge of the pond where I finally told the man, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I turned to see his reaction. He was still staring at me, but his smile was gone now. I can't let you leave, he said.
Whoa.
He lifted his flannel to expose a handgun sticking out of his jeans pocket. As soon as I could process what I was looking at, I dove out of the boat for land, ran the whole half-mile uphill through the woods back to my house,
Yeah, dip
and locked
out,
every
bro.
door and window as soon as I made it home. I pulled down the blinds to the dining room window, leaving it open just a crack for peeking outside undetected. It started to get dark out, and I left every light in the house off, still peeking out to the front yard, making sure I wasn't followed.
Yeah.
The time came when I finally decided I wasn't followed. I realize now, like you, that not calling the police immediately was a huge mistake.
Oh, you didn't call the cops? Oh,
I
he's
kept my bedroom
stupid.
windows open to let the room air out. My bedroom was on the second floor,
He's
so
dumb.
I wasn't worried about being watched through the
I thought the moment he walked in, he was gonna call the cops. Oh, he's stupid, bro.
window. About half an hour after shutting the light and falling under the covers, I heard the sound of leaves crunching from outside.
Yeah, they always get you at night, bro. They
I
always get
sat
you
up
at
to
night.
hear it more clearly. It was definitely something walking around out there. Normally I would assume it was a deer or a bear, but after what just happened, I was still in paranoia mode. I sat up as still as a statue, except for my shaking out of fear, waiting as the sounds of the steps stopped. Hey buddy, you up there? Are you trying to sleep? Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. I felt like 100 pounds just fell directly onto my
Call
chest.
the cops, please.
It was the same voice. I knew it right away. I didn't make a sound. I crept out of the room, quietly downstairs to the kitchen, and grabbed the phone, practically crawling on my way out to avoid being seen through the open blinds.
Good.
I called 911 like I should have earlier in the
Exactly,
temporary
you
safety
stupid,
of my
bro.
bedroom.
You're so dumb for doing that.
I made sure to whisper into the phone, as I was still hoping that he hadn't yet heard or spotted me. 20 minutes felt like an hour as I sat behind my bed, waiting for the police to arrive in constant fear that I would hear glass breaking from downstairs, or a thud on the back door, or even just a voice again from down below my window outside. The police did a thorough investigation of the property in nearby woods, turning up nothing. They suggested I stay with a friend or a family member for a few days,
Yeah.
and so I did. I never heard from or saw the man again, but I still moved a month later. I couldn't deal with the constant fear and paranoia of being watched through my windows. I feel much more comfortable fishing out by the bay now.
Wait, go back. Whoa, what's that? Is that the same guy? What is that? Is that the same guy? I don't. Is that the real? Wait. Nah, that's not the same guy. It's a different guy. Alright, last one we're gonna look at is is Night Shift Stories Animated.
It was 2 years ago. I was called in to do the night shift, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. at 7-Eleven, since somebody called out. The store was located on a busy road in a rather quiet and rural area. During the night shift, you could expect anywhere from 10 to 20 people come in to buy a beer or something else. This one particular night, there was this one guy, mid-20s, that came in. He started making weird noises, like loud yelling noises. I assumed he had some kind of mental disability. In fact, my brother has a mental disability, so I immediately felt sympathy for the guy. He walked up to the counter without any items, with his head facing me, but his eyes were looking up at the ceiling. I felt uncomfortable. I honestly didn't know how to deal with it. I tried speaking with him, but he only responded in loud noises. I kept checking if he was with someone outside, but he was alone. There weren't any cars in the parking lot, so I assumed he walked. He stood there for so long, looking up at the ceiling and making noises, that I tried to get him out by handing him a bag of chips and telling him he could go. I tried finding some kind of number to call for someone to help him. Then, out of nowhere, he finally turned around and walked out of the store. I felt so horrible for the man, but at the same time, I felt a bit creeped out.
I do.
About an hour later, the phone on the counter rang. I picked up to hear the familiar yelling sounds of the man from earlier. It caught me off guard. I didn't know what to think, other than this has to be some kind of prank. I hung up on them and was now becoming paranoid of my surroundings, constantly checking the outside through the windows. Come 4 o'clock, the person working after me came in, finally allowing for me to go home. It wasn't my problem anymore. I got home and threw all my stuff on the table, ready to get to sleep. But my phone rang within a minute after entering the door. I felt a chill run down my spine.
Oh no.
Why would someone be calling at 4 a.m.? I could only imagine it was bad news.
Coworker?
I braced myself and picked up the phone to hear the man again. I felt sick to my stomach as I listened to the loud noises he made. I struggled to slam the phone to the receiver. All night, I felt like I was being watched, even with all the blinds shut. And I could swear I heard strange noises coming from all over my house. I refused to get any sleep until the sun came up.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain
Weeks passed, and I had forgotten about the incident. Until one day, when going into the basement for the first time in a while, I found that papers had been scattered all over the floor, and when I went into the basement closet, I found writing on the walls. 7-Eleven had been written in Sharpie on the wall, along with the address to the 7-Eleven I worked at and my house address.
Whoa.
The most disturbing part, I also found various kitchen knives, along with a large pocket knife sitting in the closet. What started out as seemingly just an innocent person turning into something of a prank ultimately turned into something much more horrifying.
Jeez.
He had been living down there for God knows how long, and I'm just grateful that, for whatever reason, he changed his mind and left.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen or heard from him since.
Jeez.
All I can say is that man is dangerously ill.
Gosh, bro. I don't even know what to say on that one. I don't know. I don't know what to say on that, bro. I really don't know what to say. Well, that was it. Later, guys.